'Cause I am the Rain King. Yeah! Hello, everyone. If you haven't figured it out yet, we are reviewing the X-Files Season 6 episode, Rain King. This episode is in my top 10 favorites. It's a delight from beginning till end. It doesn't have the same format or feel of a lot of the X-Files episodes. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Cheers to you. Drinking some Coke and Jack. Ooh, that's good. My go-to drink of choice. And my cat's drinking it too. Stop that. So, Rain King. Very fond memories of watching this episode when I was 13 years old. It's just wonderful from beginning to end. And let's dive right in. One thing I'm always sad about is when people review this episode, they never reference the song by the Counting Crows, which always makes me sad. The Counting Crows is the favorite band of my spouse, and every time we hear that song, Rain King, I have to tease him about how Adam Duritz, the lead singer of the Counting Crows, always says "yeah" in his songs. Every artist has a calling card. For Jimi Hendrix, it was burning his instruments. For Keith Moon, it was tearing his drum set apart. For Adam Duritz of the Counting Crows, it's a "yeah" very awkwardly in his songs. So we're all good at something, right? Love Adam Duritz, love the Counting Crows. Just want to throw that out there. So the Rain King. The episode begins with one Sheila Fontaine, played famously by Victoria Jackson. Victoria Jackson owns my entire heart. Like, God, she's great. She is signing this card, and it was kind of a jump scare for me because it's the first thing you see in the episode, and it's the Campbell Soup Kids. And I was watching it, might have been a little inebriated while I was watching Rain King yesterday during my rewatch, and I was like, those are the Campbell Soup Kids on that card. For any of you little babies watching this, a long time ago in the 90s, Campbell Soup had this campaign where they showed these little cherubic children as like their mascots, but it was unintentionally terrifying. These children look terrifying. Okay, they're like Cabbage Patch levels of Uncanny Valley. Anyway, if you don't know what I'm talking about, just look on Google Images and look up the Campbell's kids, or don't if you want to sleep tonight, whatever. So she's signing the terrifying Campbell Soup Kids card, and her fiance, one Daryl Mootz, comes in, and he's very upset because Sheila has put their engagement in the newspaper. And she's like, I just want everyone to know how happy we are. She's dressed in some nice red lingerie. And I'm like, Daryl, you fucking idiot. Is all I can say. Throughout this episode, Daryl Mootz, who is the antagonist, I guess, in this episode. He's definitely the antagonist in the first half of the episode. He is a certified asshat. And he just keeps attracting these amazing women, and I do not understand why. So, anyway, he dumps Sheila on Valentine's Day, and then he body shames her. This beautiful vixen of a woman, he body shames her. He says she has a fat ass, and fuck you, Daryl. You know what? Sheila deserves better than you, man. Like, she'll find someone who can appreciate this woman, all right? So he drives off, and boy howdy, does this scene ever perfectly encapsulate the way trashy men and their amazing women handle breakups. Sheila is sitting on her couch crying and eating chocolate. And Daryl is in his truck drinking beer. You see the beer cans floating around in the cooler, which is it's gross on the same level as the guy upchucking the worm in The Host. Like that's pretty nasty. Okay, so and he's just singing, drinking beer, having a gay old time. The Carpenters is playing, and let me tell you something. When the Carpenters play, some bad shit is about to go down. I'm thinking of The Room. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the movie Room 1408 with John Cusack, Samuel L. Jackson. They play a Carpenter song at a very pivotal point in that movie, and it reminded me of that. I think I'm one of the 2 people who has seen the movie Room 1408. If you've seen it and you like it, maybe you're a John Cusack fan, please hit me up. Let me know so I don't feel alone. So anyway, the Carpenter starts to play, and Daryl's just singing along blithely to it, not even thinking about how his ex-girlfriend is listening to this same song and crying her poor eyes out. God, poor Sheila. Jesus Christ. Anyway, it starts to hail, and it obscures Daryl's vision, and he has an accident. And as the scene is about to go into the opening credits, you see that the hail is shaped like hearts. And we'll talk about it. Like, who is controlling the weather in this episode? Is anyone controlling the weather? I have my own thoughts on that. So you get the beginning credits, and you see one of those little crop duster planes come into a small airport, and it's Mulder and Scully. And they get out, and this is one of those scenes that absolutely did not have to be put into this episode, but I'm so happy that they did. It's one of those really quirky things that the X-Files kind of just throws at you sometimes, and you're like, oh yeah, this is nice. This man, the mayor of the town, comes out, and he has this little girl with him named Rhonda. She's in a little star-spangled leotard, and she starts she presses a little stereo, and she starts twirling. She starts twirling like a majorette. This little girl is giving it 112%. I just love it. It's so random. Does nothing to move the plot along. It's just nice. Like, Mulder and Scully look extremely enchanted by all of this. They love it. Anyway, the mayor comes up. Little girl does not miss a beat, still twirling while he's talking to Mulder and Scully. He turns around, he says, Rhonda, go find your mama now. It's just so good. I live for moments like that in the X-Files. It's so good. So Rhonda goes and finds her mama, and the mayor's telling Mulder and Scully, like, there's this guy, Daryl Mootz, and he is profiting off of people's suffering in this area of Kansas, Kroner, Kansas. Wrist is cramping again. And he says that Daryl is causing this drought somehow, and then seeding the clouds so that he can profit off of it. And so then Scully looks at Mulder, and she's like, you didn't tell me any of this before we came out here. And then Mulder's like, Scully, you act like I've misled you. And I'm like, you did, man. Like, it fucking pisses me off. Like, Mulder couldn't have told her this, like, on the way there or before they booked this flight to Kansas. Like, really, Mulder? Like, how many times has this woman dropped everything and put everything on the line to follow you into some batshit case? it's like gross, man. Like just a few episodes ago, she did it in Drive. Like she couldn't drop everything fast enough, but you won't trust her with this. Okay, and I wouldn't be pissed off as much if this was a one-time thing and not the hallmark of Mulder's behavior in his relationship with Scully. How he keeps her in the dark with very important things, like he can't trust her. It's fucked up and stupid. But oh, when Scully goes off the 2 times in the series, in Beyond the Sea and in Enemy, to like work on a case without Mulder's knowledge, the audience fucking drags her, and Mulder fucking drags her. So, you know, fuck me. I hate that. Anyway, they go into Kroner, and they come to the office space of the Rain King, LTD. I love it. It's his little LTD on the sign. And they meet Cindy, Daryl's current girlfriend. And again, how is Daryl, who's just a absolute donkey's ass, attracting these amazing women? Okay, Sheila, Vixen, Cindy, a queen, and we'll get into why in a bit. So they're like, hey, do you have a list of like customers that Daryl has serviced with his rain making capabilities? Cindy gets really pissy. She's like, you'll find everyone a satisfied customer. And you know, Cindy thinks Daryl saved her daddy's farm, and that's probably where they met and how they got together, which is just a whole other dimension of creepy as far as Daryl goes. And I like Cindy. She's cool. She's a queen. So, also when Mulder and Scully come in there, Cindy's on the phone with someone who's about to host Daryl so he can make rain for them. And she says he wants a big old bowl of jelly beans, but pick out the green ones because he don't like the green ones. And I know this is played as like, he's like the celebrity and he like is very, fussy, and persnickety. But, like, I only like the black jelly beans, so don't shame me. Come on. Like, I love black jelly beans. Come on, don't shame me. And the purple ones. The purple ones are great. But I like the green ones too. I like all jelly beans, but the black ones, like when I get a bag of jelly beans, I will go through them and eat all the black ones because I'm a mess. Anyway, Mulder and Scully go to this weather station. Excuse me. And they meet one Holman Hardt, the meteorologist there at the weather station in Kroner. As they go in there, a fun drinking game in this episode is take a drink every time someone mistakes Mulder and Scully for a married couple. And I just want to, and it happens like when they go in there, like Sheila, who's the station producer, like she comes out to them and she's like, these are the Gundersons, you're going to have a romantic getaway. They've won like a contest, or she thinks they have. This episode, Rain King, is absolute MSR shipper bait. Like, this was during the time when the MSR shipper fans were becoming extremely vocal, and Chris Carter was kind of, I guess, easing off of like, nah, they're Mulder and Scully are platonic. And he was like, or him and the other writers were making these episodes where it was like such shipper bait. This episode is that. It is just shipper bait from beginning until the end. Kind of like baiting the audience into thinking like, oh, Mulder and Scully are going to get together in this episode, just you wait. And then at the end they're like, nah, LOL, just kidding. It was a fucked up relationship between the X-Files writers and the MSR shippers in way back in the year of our Lord 1999. So it was a very toxic relationship. So they go into the TV station and they meet Holman Hardt, the meteorologist, and I do these X-Files rewatch threads on Twitter to kind of help me get my thoughts together. And one thing I said is, Holman Hardt, just hear me out, guys. Like, he has a very nerdy charm to him that makes him pretty fucking attractive, okay? Like, and I know the show's setting it up as like, this guy's the biggest dork ever. He can't be attractive. And I'm like, he's pretty fucking attractive. I mean, like, he knows so much about the weather. That's sexy, man. So they go meet Holman Hardt. They go into his office. He calls Kroner, Kansas sexy because the weather is so tumultuous. I can't talk today. And varied in Kroner, and he calls it sexy, which I gotta say is such a geeky and adorable and sexy thing to say. I mean, Holman Hardt, man, he's a low-key fox, is all I'm saying. It's like, anyway, Scully's like, hey, explain to Agent Mulder that a man can't cause a drought, like the mayor's claiming. And then Holman goes into this spiel where he's like, I think Daryl Mootz is the real deal. He really can make it rain. That should send up a lot of red flags because Holman Hardt is a meteorologist. He's a scientist. He's very in tune to weather, the natural state of the weather and how treacherous and how varied and how coincidental that can be. But then he immediately says, oh, a man makes the rain. Like, that would be sending up red flags for me. We'll talk a little bit more about it. So they go and see the king, Daryl Mootz. Again, like, this is a scene the show did not have to put in. It would not have furthered the plot or anything. It's just there. So they go and see Daryl. And this, first of all, this was a time when the X-Files was just in its golden age, 1999. And you get this shot of a huge GMC truck parked in front of this tent where everyone's gathering on this farm. And it says Rain King on the license plate. And I always say, the X-Files brought to you by General Motors. Like, anyway, they go and see Daryl. He starts doing this little dance. And I said on Twitter, I said, Daryl Mootz is a certified creep, but he's gotten moves. He starts dancing. It is the most stupid dance ever, and I fucking love it. He's doing it so unapologetically. Love it. He says, I am 1/64th Cherokee. And, like, where I grew up, on the Appalachian foothills, that's like everybody had some Cherokee lineage. I said on my Twitter thread, literally everyone I know. So he starts doing this dance, and of course the trope we all know and love, when Scully's explaining how ridiculous something is, that ridiculous thing happens. And it begins to pour down rain. Everyone who's watching, like the farm wife and the farmer and all their neighbors, are like so into the dance. There's some guys behind Daryl like jiving too, and I love it. It's so good. Like, again, it didn't have to be put in this episode, but I'm really glad it was. So it starts to rain, and Mulder's like, aha, I got you, Scully. But I'm like, have you? So then you see Holman and Sheila, and they're talking about their high school reunion. Sheila says, I can't believe it's been 20 years since we finished high school. And the I Love Lucy gif of her laughing hysterically and then crying. That was me when I heard that. It's been, I think, it's been over 20 years since I graduated high school, so I really felt that, is what I'm saying. So Sheila's still hung up on Daryl, her ex, and Holman's like, there are other men who will love you more. We'll get into that a little bit too. So you see Mulder and Scully in their hotel room. Scully's trying to sleep. Mulder keeps making noise. That's a great summary of the X-Files. Dana Scully fails to get a good night's sleep because her partner's sticking around. That's a great summary of the X-Files. Mulder's actually doing some research. I know, it's just I'm so shocked. I can barely believe it. He's actually doing some goddamn work and not making Scully do all the fucking work in this episode. So there's a huge there's a twister. Mulder looks out the window, it picks up a cow and it dumps it into his room through his ceiling. This scene gave off like crazy Twister vibes, the movie Twister. Was it? I think it was Helen Hunt in that movie. I think it was Helen Hunt in that movie. Yeah, it gives off mad like Twister vibes. Anyway, the cow crashes through the ceiling. Again, take a drink. Cheers. The hotel proprietor believes that Mulder and Scully are together, and she's like, "Hey, I put all your boyfriend's stuff in your room." And Scully says, she says, "We are not a couple." And she says, "He is my partner, and we prefer separate rooms." And the woman's like, "Old-fashioned, are ya?" And I really like that. Okay, one of my headcanons is that Mulder and Scully were kind of old-fashioned in their courting behaviors. And it's very demisexual and nice, and that's my headcanon, and I like it. So that scene made me smile. Anyway, Scully goes in there. She's checking Mulder for head trauma. He's like, "A cow flew through the ceiling," and she's like, "Okay, Mulder, whatever." Holman comes up. He's so upset about the cow. He says, "Oh, that poor creature." Later on, when Mulder's talking to him, he says, "You threw a cow through the ceiling," and he says, "The poor animal." Like, Holman is just, he is so good. He is such a catch. He is just a good boy. Like, I love this man. He is great. Anyway, he loves cows. Like, how is he a bad man? Anyway, Scully's like, "Please explain to Agent Mulder what happened." And, he says, "Oh, yes, this twister, like, lifted this cow up into the air and threw him into your room." Holman has an intimate knowledge of the weather, obviously. And I'll talk a little bit more about what I believe is really going on here. So Sheila comes up to Mulder. She's crying. She has on this fierce black choker. I love it. Sheila's fucking styling, man. That's all I gotta say. She comes up to Mulder and she's like, "I did it." And she's like, "I'm guilty." And she's she has this exposition montage of her life and how every time there was a romantic event in her life, there was a natural disaster. Like at her senior prom, there was a tornado. It snowed 6 inches on her wedding day, and it was the 4th of July weekend. She says, and then when she left when she filed for divorce, she looked up and saw these little fluffy clouds, and they all looked like they were laughing at her. And there's this song called Little Fluffy Clouds, and I can't remember who it's by. Tag me in the comments and say, like, this is who did this song. But when she says that, describing the little fluffy clouds, it made me think of that song. Mulder cannot be bothered with the story. Like, she says, "You know how you see faces in those?" And he's, like, so distracted looking off, and then he's like, "Oh, what?" like, Mulder, pay attention to this woman. God damn. Anyway, Mulder reassures her that she's not doing this. So, a couple things. As we are led to believe, what Mulder believes is that Daryl is not causing the rain. Sheila is not causing the rain or this treacherous weather. Holman is causing the rain because he feels guilty over what happened to Daryl. He so when Daryl goes around, like, the showers follow him. Now, there is just as much evidence supporting that Sheila is responsible as Holman is. And that's the thing. Like, these things happen, but the only thing we have to prove it is Holman's word and Mulder's word. And I'm like, is that the evidence you're going to give us? Like, because I'm not going to believe that. Like, yeah, and there's just as much evidence that Sheila's doing this as Holman is doing this. So, and I'm like, so we're just going to take this guy at his word. He's a meteorologist. He has intimate knowledge of the weather. He could predict where this weather's going to be and when it's going to happen. He has that intimate knowledge of it. That doesn't mean he's making the weather. So that's what I believe. I believe Holman is orchestrating this entire thing. That he's playing innocent, like, oh, this is out of my hands. I'm just causing this and I don't mean to. Like, it's based upon his emotions. And I think in reality, Holman is not as innocent and wholesome as he seems. That he's actually watching the weather. And he's just very savvy at like pinpointing when these unusual events are going to occur. That's what I believe is going on with Holman. So, anyway, you can believe what you want. That's what I believe. I just think it's a little too convenient that the meteorologist of this town is responsible for this. Like, he's causing this weather unintentionally, and we only have his word and Mulder's word to go on. And again, it runs in the vein of this show where we're never going to see, like, substantial evidence one way or the other towards a paranormal thing. So, anyway, another thing is Mulder immediately makes the connection between Holman and Sheila, that Holman has a crush on her. And I'm like, Mulder, who has never picked up on any romantic vibes between anyone in the show up till this point, just immediately makes that. I'm like, that is OOC. Like, that is just the writers, once again, handing Mulder all the fucking answers. Like, that is just them. Like, it's just so out of character for him. Now, Scully, like, I could see that. Like she immediately recognized BJ and the police chief's bond in Audrey. Like, and then Scully would be like, oh yeah, so Holman and Sheila have a thing. Like, yeah, like, I could see her doing it. Mulder, no. Like, Mulder has the perception of a rock. And you're telling me he made that connection? I don't think so. And why couldn't Scully have made that connection? Like, it wouldn't have changed the plot at all. Anyway, Mulder goes and talks to Holman, and he's like, you got to do something before you kill somebody. And he's like, you got to tell Sheila how you feel. So Sheila comes in there. He tells her how he feels. But Sheila has a crush on Mulder. And I just gotta say, the second half of this episode plays out like a fucking 8th grade drama. I mean, it is just people in their 30s acting like 13-year-olds. That's exactly what this episode is. So, you get this great, before this, and we'll get into it in a little bit. So she tells Holman, like, I'm in love with Agent Mulder, and you see lightning strike the top of the news building. That's really good. It's like Dr. Frankenstein. Mulder says, it starts to rain, and Mulder says to Holman, like, oh, you told her? And he's like, yes. He's like, she is in love with you. And at this point, I was like, no, Sheila, you do not want Mulder. Trust me, behind that pretty face lurks a fucking maniac, okay? Stay with Holman, or even Daryl, are better choices. So the rain has stopped following Daryl, and he is panicking. Cindy tells him, like, Dairy Queen will take me back. I get $6 an hour. And I love that line. So, he's like, hey, I'll go back to Sheila. She has money. And, and then he dumps Cindy again, like this creep attracting these amazing women and just to break their hearts. So, he goes off to find Sheila. He comes to the weather station. He's fucking harassing Sheila. You know what? Fuck Daryl. He's a creep. He's an abuser, and he's a drunk driver. I feel no sympathy for this man. So, he's harassing Sheila. Mulder gets into a fight with them, and then Sheila smooches Mulder. You see Victoria Jackson pull back from that kiss, and she's licking her lips. She's like, that was good. She enjoyed that Duchovny kiss right there. She was like, this is the highlight of my career, baby. So, Scully walks in, she sees mid-kiss, and she says, Mulder, the fog has lifted, which is so good. I gotta get my thoughts in order. So, he's like, Scully, can you read, Doppler radar? And it shows the screen, and it's just a huge red pinwheel coming towards the high school gymnasium. And I'm like, Mulder, I could read that. Like, big red blob, bad. I could do that, man. He's like, certainly my scientist wife can decipher this. Like, Mulder, I'm pretty sure you could, buddy. So there's this huge storm coming towards Kroner, Kansas. And they go to the high school reunion, and again, it's just an 8th grade dance. I don't know what era you grew up in, but in the 90s, when there was any kind of dance or social function out of school, 3 things had to happen. Okay, your friends threw you together with your crush, forcing you two to dance together. One of your friends ran off crying to the bathroom, and you had to follow them. And then there was a goddamn brawl, like a fight. And all of those things happen at this high school reunion. It's so much like an 8th grade dance. It's so coded 90s 8th grade dance. So, Sheila runs off crying to the bathroom. Great shot. This was before, when they were at the hotel room, of Scully holding the Kleenexes for Sheila. It's so good. Let's talk about Scully. So, Scully is so kind and gentle and patient with Sheila. It very much reminds me of the scene in Aubrey, where she follows BJ into the bathroom and is being supportive and kind. So Scully is again being very supportive of Sheila. Even when Sheila is not reasonable, and she turns on Scully and she's like, you're just jealous, of me because me and Mulder have this bond, which I just love. He's like, I'm like, bitch, he's known you for a day. It's a classic Disney romance. So, even when she's being unreasonable, Scully's still like, I'm going to help this woman. Couple things. So, anyone who says Scully is jealous and petty of women needs to watch this episode, because she is so gentle with Sheila. It's almost like Scully is not jealous or petty towards women at all. She's just placed in these situations, as in the situation with Phoebe or Diana, where she is made to feel uncomfortable, like she and her work is being undermined. And that's what causes her to be snarky, as it would for anyone. That's very understandable reaction. It's almost like she's not jealous or petty of women at all. Because she's not. Like, we've seen Scully in situations where she's not made to feel uncomfortable or undermined by Mulder. Okay? Where she is supportive and kind and loving of these women. Like, this is a great example. Sheila, BJ and Aubrey, Melissa in The Phil Where I Died. So there you go. And so she has this conversation with Sheila, and she's like talking to her about how the best relationships are the ones rooted in friendship. And then she says, suddenly you see someone different than the way you saw them the night before. Not the day before, the night before. And I'm like, interesting wording there, Dana Scully. Like, what exactly happened when Mulder's things were moved into your room? This is what I want to know. All the fics where they're in the same room in Croner. I want them. So anyway, this is Scully makes a joke. Holman wants dating advice from Mulder. Worst person to get dating advice from, I want to add. And Scully says, the blind leading the blind. But then it is Sheila and Holman's whole story and journey that encourages Mulder and Scully to make that leap into a romantic relationship. So that's pretty cool. So then Sheila comes out of the bathroom after Scully's little pep talk. We all need a good Dana Catherine Scully pep talk in our lives, don't we? She comes out of there and she says to Holman, she's like, "You're causing the weather for me." And she's like, "That's the most romantic thing I've ever heard of." He's not causing the weather, Sheila. He is manipulating people's perception of the weather because of his intimate knowledge with it. And yes, call me a skeptical Scully. I don't care. That's what's going on, all right? There's too many red flags up there for me, all right? He has an intimate knowledge of meteorology. He knows about the coincidental happenings of the weather. I believe Holman is using that in a conspiracy to get what he wants, namely Sheila, instead of unintentionally causing the weather. That's what I believe. So believe what you want. Anyway, they kiss, sparks fly, and they play Somewhere Over the Rainbow to show you just how MSR shipper baity this episode is. It shows the silhouettes of two people, like a short woman and a tall man. The woman has kind of reddish hair. They're making out. And when I was 13, I said, oh, Leonardo DiCaprio meme pointing at the TV. I was like, oh, that's Mulder and Scully kissing. Nah, I don't think so. Mulder and Scully are watching Holman and Sheila and they're swaying. Like, why are they swaying? It's almost like they wanted to dance, but they had to keep Jesus between them. Or Chris Carter in this case. Had to save room for Chris Carter, Jesus. And they're kind of swaying. It's very cute. They're watching Holman and Sheila do this slow motion kiss. Like their faces are just slowly coming together. And you know they were thinking about the hallway scene in Fight the Future, weren't they? Where Mulder was like, we almost kissed this way once. And Scully's like, yeah, we got cock-blocked by a V. And we got cock-blocked by a V. And Mulder's like, we don't talk about it. And Scully's like, ever. So, oh, hello. How are you? There's Miss Sly. Hello, Miss Sly. Hello. So, they get your butt out of my face, okay? So, they break the kiss. They come to Mulder and Scully. And Mulder's like, who knew reunions could be so? And then Scully says, wet. And I'm like, again, interesting wording there, Dana Catherine Scully. Scully is low-key horny in this episode, isn't she? Like, every line she gets, she's like, that woman is horny. She wants to tap that spooky dick, man. This woman is thirsty. She's dry as the fucking Sahara. So, and again, Holman says, you should try it sometime. And I'm like, oh yes, Holman, they will. And like you and Sheila, get pregnant immediately after. Okay, Scully was pregnant. I know people have figured this up for, people believe she was pregnant for 13 months with baby William. Baby William had special powers, so maybe he just needed a little more cooking. And if people believe that, then you know what? I can believe that Scully got pregnant after the episode Millennium, where her and Mulder kissed for the first time. You know what? If people can believe that Scully had a fucking 14-month pregnancy, then I will believe that she got pregnant right after Millennium. There you go. You know what? You believe that, I'll believe this, okay? So, I want to believe it. So, and then the episode ends, and you get this very sweet coda of, Holman doing the weather and Sheila watching him at home with their 3-month-old baby 1 year later. You know what happened after that high school reunion? Bow chicka brown cow. Bow chicka brown cow. Bow chicka brown cow. Yeah, they got it on. Who knows? Who knows where? It's probably at the reunion, okay? That baby was probably conceived at that high school reunion. So, that is Rain King, and you know what? It's so timely, because it's about to rain right now where I am. Maybe Holman is stalking me. Maybe not. I hope you have a great day. I hope the weather's nice where you are. Oh, I forgot to say at the end of the episode, Cindy brings Daryl his boot. Because she said if he didn't apologize, he'd have to come crawling back to her. And I'm like, that's queen shit. Cindy, our low-key queen. She's amazing. Anyway, have a great day. You can find me at raccoons_dead on Twitter. I am at Just Awful X-Men Art on Tumblr. I am at Dead Raccoons Draws It on Instagram. And I am at Dead Raccoons and DeviantArt. And of course, I'm here on YouTube. Leave me a comment. What underrated X-Files episode do you want me to cover? Excuse me. Special announcement. On the Thursday before Valentine's Day, we will be covering the first half of the X-Files movie, Fight the Future. And I'm very excited for this. We have a tradition in our home where we watch the X-Files pilot on New Year's Eve. And we have another tradition where we watch the 1998 X-Files movie, Fight the Future, on Valentine's Day, or leading up to Valentine's Day, which I think is a wonderful Valentine's Day tradition, because Fight the Future is an amazing Valentine's Day movie. But leading up to that, we will be covering X-Files episodes that make us go, "Aw, how sweet," like this one, Rain King. And also, next week, we're going to be doing Existence, which I'm super excited for. And then after that, we're going to do Millennium. And then we're going to cover part 1 of Fight the Future. So have a great day. Watch out for deranged weathermen. I love you.